With the prices of consoles such as the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X constantly increasing, and with $80 games practically becoming the norm nowadays, it's no wonder that a lot of people have been looking into getting older consoles to mod them and have a lot of games for almost free. This is the reason why I decided to get a PlayStation 3. I have never used a PS3 before, so I was really excited to actually get into it. I managed to score a pretty good deal and get all of this for $40. This is the PS3 Super Slim, which, if you don't know, is the latest revision of the PS3. You had the Fat, the Slim and the Super Slim. If you want to get a PS3 nowadays, I recommend getting this model as it's the most reliable. The Super Slim PS3 has this famous door cover for inserting games, and while this does look fairly cheap, it's actually really reliable and won't break on you. I mean, unless you physically break it, but that's on you. And I actually got a lot of these games with this PS3, including one which I'll probably make a video about soon. Given that I've never used a PlayStation 3 before, I was honestly surprised at how lightweight the DualShock 3 is. I've never used this controller and it's okay, it's not anything special, and I honestly much prefer a DualShock 4 or a DualSense. But it works, and the vibration, while not perfect, is there, and the 6-axis is also a nice thing to have in some games. You just need to keep in mind that if you plan on buying Chinese or off-brand fake controllers, they probably won't work in PS2 and PS1 games if you intend to play those. When I booted up this PS3, I was just surprised at how pretty this looks. The user interface on the PS3, or as the Sony calls it, the cross-media bar, is just probably the best interface that Sony ever made, and honestly this looks better than most new consoles. I mean, the Switch 2's interface is just terrible, this looks eons better than it. Here's something fun you didn't know: if you move the PlayStation controller on the XMB screen, the background will also move faster or slower depending on how you move the controller. This is actually a really cool detail that I've just noticed, and I've been kinda amazed by it. When I first booted up the console, I was surprised at just how quiet it is. If you don't know, the PS3s, especially the earlier models, can get really hot and I mean really loud. But in my case, this console was pretty quiet, even when playing something like GTA 5. This was especially weird to me because this console smelled like cigarettes and the controller was just awful, so I expected it to be full of dust, and no. It was really quiet. The only sound I could hear was when I was playing at this game, because if you don't know, PS3 games don't actually install themselves if you use a disc. You will constantly hear the disc rotate as the game has to read the data off the disc and not the hard drive itself, but we will also talk about that later. Before getting into stuff like modding, I just wanted to see what this console can do on its own. When I first booted it up, I wasn't connected to the internet and didn't even have the latest software update, but I could still properly play my disc games without any issue. It's kinda nice to see something like this, especially in an era where you cannot do most things without connected to the internet. I mean, you cannot even use the disk drive on the PS5 without activating it via internet first, which is just insane to me. But yeah, it was definitely weird to see you just being able to insert a game without having to do anything and just being able to play it. Outside of just games, the PS3 is surprisingly still functionable. I mean, you can still use it to watch YouTube, you can watch Netflix, you can watch Amazon Prime for example. You can play music via Spotify, and most importantly, you can copy over your entire media collection and put it on the PS3 and play it whenever you want. It's actually insane that this is something that you cannot do on PS4 or PS5 for that matter, but on a 20-year-old console you can. If I had to pick out one major flaw about the PlayStation 3, that would definitely be the PlayStation Store. The PlayStation Store on the PS3 is almost completely unusable. It's very slow to load, it takes ages to sign in. You cannot actually buy anything with your credit card, but you have to refill the wallet, and the user interface is just terrible and it's just so laggy and the search is incredibly bad. I honestly just recommend staying away from the PlayStation Store altogether. Another thing you will obviously have to get used to is the fact that while the PS3 is a great console, it's kinda old. So you'll have to get used to playing games at 720p and sometimes even lower in the case of games like Red Dead Redemption or GTA 4. And you'll also have to get used to that the frame rate is not always a stable 30, especially in more intense games. I mean, GTA 5 will sometimes drop under 20 FPS for me, so that's something that you will have to keep in mind. Speaking of which, the games, are they any good? Well, as it turns out, the PS3 has an incredible selection of games and a lot of titles that you cannot even play on modern hardware. I mean, you can play the entire Greek God of War saga, the Killzone series, MotorStorm, Metal Gear Solid 4, Skate Trilogy, Resistance, Little Big Planet, Fight Night, Infamous, and I could just go on and on. There's really a big selection of great games that you can play on this console. What makes this even better is the fact that PS3 games on discs are now dirt cheap, so you can find a lot of great deals for a surprisingly low amount of money. Another thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that online multiplayer on the PS3 is fully free. You do not need a PlayStation Plus subscription or anything else for that matter. And in games like Call of Duty, you can still find matches with actually a lot of players nowadays. I mean, I recently booted up Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 and I was able to find a match within seconds. Now granted, the only game mode that actually has players is Team Deathmatch, but still, I was in a lobby that was practically full. And while there were probably some cheaters in the game, there are also honestly just a lot of players that are here to have fun, and I was actually able to get a good amount of kills in. One thing I did notice is that the game sometimes would disconnect me, saying that the connection to the Activision servers has been interrupted, which I'm not sure why, because this game uses peer-to-peer and not dedicated servers, but still, it's an issue worth noting. Another thing that I want to mention is that a lot of games have dedicated servers which have been shut down, unfortunately, so you cannot play them on the PS3. However, there are communities like PS3 Wired which allow you to mod these games to have custom servers and you can basically play them online again. There are also custom communities for games like GTA 5 which allow you to play the old gen GTA Online, which has been obviously shut down, but you can still access it and play it. I do plan to make a video about this, but I still haven't got the time to actually set it up and try it. And because the PlayStation 3 is still fully supported by the PlayStation Network, you can still earn trophies and sync them up to your account. It does take a while to sync all your trophies once you've earned them, but it still works. Okay, so that's about basically everything you can do with a standard, non-modded PS3. But what if you decided to mod the console? Well, your possibilities are actually pretty endless. Now, you can basically mod any PS3 nowadays, and the process is pretty simple. I plan to make a separate video about this topic, but just know that everything you need is a PC and a USB drive. And that's basically it. The process takes maybe 10 to 15 minutes, and after that you're done. Now, this jailbreak, the mod you use, the hen, is untethered, meaning that you have to enable it every time you boot up the console. This is actually good because it means that if you ever decide you do not want your console to be modded, you just decide not to run the mod, and that's basically it. But what can you do with it? Well, as it turns out, you can do a lot actually. Now, with the console modded, one thing you unlock is the package manager, which allows you to install practically anything on your PS3. One thing it allows us to install is something called Multiman. Multiman is a tool that you can use to copy over games from your USB drive, for example, to your PS3, or even copy these games to the PS3 and be able to run them without having to rely on your disc. And yes, I know, this allows for piracy, and I do not condone it, and I will not show how to do it.
Because they're pirated games in the world, and which I hate, and it is a waste.
But just so you know, it's an option, it's there. But yeah, it also allows you to install emulators and other apps like that. I mean, you can run anything from the NES to the PS2 on this console. And yeah, PS2 and PS1 games. While the PS3 Slim doesn't have the hardware backwards compatibility, it has a software emulator built into the console, which means that while you can run most PS2 and PS1 games, the compatibility is going to be iffy. I mean, I tried running Manhunt 2 on the PS3, and while the game worked, the performance was not great and it would drop under 30 FPS a lot of the times. But this is still a great option to have, and PS1 games will definitely run much better. One thing you may be wondering is if this can get you banned on PSN, and let me explain. If you just want to run offline games without any connection to PSN, well, you're good. There is absolutely no way they can ban your account or your console or anything. But if you decide to sign into PlayStation Network and run games via internet, well, you still probably won't get banned. I mean, as far as I know, Sony doesn't really care about the PlayStation 3 anymore, and people have been often cheating and doing basically anything, and Sony doesn't want to ban them. Now, does this mean you are 100% safe? Well, no, there is still always a small, albeit almost non-existent possibility here. But if you do decide to connect your own PlayStation Network and use it on a modded console, you're on your own. And I personally really don't condone cheating in games or doing anything like that, so please, stay safe and be responsible. So in conclusion, would I say that the PlayStation 3 is worth buying in 2025? Well, you've seen the title of the video, you know that I think that yes, it's absolutely worth it. I mean, you get an amazing selection of games, you get the ability to mod the console, you get to play a lot of even older titles that are not made for the PS3. And on top of that, you get free multiplayer, you get to use it as a media center, and hell, you can do almost anything you want on it. So would I say that you should buy it? Well, if you manage to get a deal as I have, then yeah, go for it. And I mean, considering how small the super slim model of the PS3 is, you can probably keep it in your house anywhere you want. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one.